cars are in position.
Hello everyone, we're almost ready for the qualifying sessions to start here at the Kumho FIA TCR World Tour. Let's grab a few words with Link & Co Zion Racing team manager Frederick Varlen. Frederick, let's talk about China very quickly. Fantastic weekend for you, fantastic weekend for the team. You've actually strengthened your grip on the team championship now. That's a fantastic place to be, final round of the year.
Yeah, I'm super happy with the performance we showed in China, and coming here in the lead in the team is nice. We would have liked to be in the lead in the drivers as well, but we're going to give them a fight for it. Hopefully now qualifying is everything here in Macau.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the drivers, Frederick. Obviously, you've got Ted. He's currently third in the championship standings. Jan is just 6 points behind him. Will Jan be helping Ted out, or are they just going to be fighting for themselves at this stage?
At this stage, they need to fight a little bit for themselves, because we haven't really had one dry lap at the track since yesterday was really challenging with wet conditions. Yeah. So it's all about the drivers now, and surely they will support each other, but mainly it's getting through to Q2, and then we will see how we take it from there.
Best luck to the team. Thank you, Frederick Varlen there. I just want to see if I can grab a few words with Andrea Kachinko, team manager from Volcano Motorsports. Obviously, they've got the very famous driver, Rob Huff, in the car with them this weekend. They made their comeback in China in preparation for Macau, so it's definitely a big race for them. It's a big race for Rob as well. Rob's currently in the car, but I want to grab a few words with Andrea if I can. Andrea, I was just telling everyone at home, you made your comeback with Rob in the car in China. How was China for you? Because I know that was a preparation for this weekend.
Yeah, China was a bit complicated with the weather conditions changing and the rain and the dry, so not so successful, but we are hoping that we have more luck here, and looks like it's now dry, so they're going to go for it.
And obviously, Rob being here, he's had multiple victories here in Macau. He's somewhat of a celebrity. Does that bring expectations, more pressure for him?
No, I think Rob's pretty cool. He knows what he has to do, so he's pretty calm. He's quite happy this morning, so the weather is dry, and he's going to do the best he can.
Okay, best luck to him and best luck to the team. Thank you for chatting to us. Okay, we're almost ready for Q1 to start. It's time for commentary.
So let's get in business then for qualifying. David Addison and Alan Hyde. Trackside, there's a lot to look for here, because not only do we have, as Lisa has just touched on, a championship situation being fought out within the Kumho FIA TCR World Tour, but there's also the grid here comprising TCR Asia drivers and TCR China, and both of those championships are up for grabs as well. And all the championships have points on offer for qualifying, more for the World Tour than for the China and Asia championships, but even so, the times are going to be important. And the other bit of housekeeping we need to just clarify is that qualifying comes in two parts, and we're looking for the fastest 12 drivers here that will go into Q2. We're also looking for people to do laps. I know it sounds obvious, but you'd be surprised with the number of incidents and stoppages you can have around the gear circuit here, how often a qualifying session becomes just a lottery and whether you've got a lap in or not. So Q1, when the lights go green, should be half an hour, and ideally we want to see 30 minutes worth of lappery with nobody in trouble, nobody triggering a red flag.
Welcome to the dream. Might not happen that way. It was good to hear Lisa asking the question as well. Do we have, well, succinctly, team orders in place?
Yeah.
Not at this point, no. So Jan and Ted are racing for themselves over the course of qualifying over the next half an hour. Good question to ask, though, when you get to this point in the season. At what point do you start to take instruction about what you can and can't do over the course of this weekend?
Now, bearing in mind, Norbert Mikulic is the championship leader, 10 points ahead of Esteban Guerrieri. So that's Hyundai versus Honda driver. The best Link & Co driver, Ted Bjork, third. Jan Ellerche behind him, fourth. There are 4 points between them. Fifth is Mikael Ashkana, and then you've got Santiago Arrutia and Nestor Girolami, who are just about mathematically maybe in with a chance. But there are 15 points on offer for pole position here. The top 6 score points, 15, 10, 8, 6, 4 and 2 in the Kumho FIA TCR World Tour aspect. Just park Asia and China for a minute, because their point system for qualifying is slightly less. important, but it's not as generous as the World Tour point system. So, well, first up, you don't want to be slow. You've got to get into Q2, and then you've got to be quick there to make sure you get a big haul of points. And the championship lead could well change come the end of qualifying.
Our previous qualifying session had a rather unusual turn. We had a weather forecast saying that we would have dry weather here at Macau for the afternoon, but spits and spots of rain happened, and it was when maybe everybody was expecting it to be a dry session. So anything can happen. You need to get out now. You need to do what you need to do, and you need to do it early in this half an hour session for Q1. And some of them are reluctant to leave, aren't they? Rob Huff was holding back just a little bit. Windscreen wipers are working. We've seen ponchos coming on in the grandstand. Weather is going to play a part in this, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I think it's on the turn again. I think the umbrellas are in greater numbers now. Wet track declared by race control. That's the view down at Lisboa. The last session that we had for the local drivers had 2 red flags and was ultimately abandoned to make sure this started on time. So out they all pour. In TCR Asia, that championship is being argued over by Max Hart, who is doing the chasing against Zhang Zhendong. And in TCR China, it's Jason Zhang, who is the championship leader there, from Martin Tsao and then Huang Doyon, who damaged his car yesterday. The driver from Korea ended up with quite a broken Hyundai. But it's going to be the attention on, of course, the drivers within the Kumho FIA TCR World Tour that we'll have to be focusing on. And they are the drivers that are going to be up there arguing over pole position. Rob Huff, as ever, comes to Macau with his great track record around here as a possible race winner. He can't fight for the championship, but he could affect the championship because his success or otherwise may well take points off those that are pitching for TCR World Tour honours.
And in the meantime, Rob Huff is looking for this historic 10th win at Macau. Like to use the phrase, if anyone can do it, Rob can do it. He is incredibly brave around this circuit. Finished up in free practice yesterday with the changeable conditions, second quickest, didn't he? And he, as we heard, turned up for the last time the cars were out in China, and it was always going to happen that he would appear in a car at some point at Macau, and the deal was done relatively late in the day, wasn't it?
Yeah, he's had another win outside of the gear race, hasn't he? The year that he drove in, I think it was the China Touring Car Cup.
And I was commentating and I said, and Rob Huff, his 10th win at Macau. And then I got a number of text messages, no, not this one, no.
But a win is a win. It wasn't a gear win, but it was a race win.
Yeah.
But we'll have to see how he fares within this first part of qualifying for his chances. He was saying to me yesterday that probably the reverse grid race is his better shot, but we will see. So umbrellas up in the pit lane, teams looking at the data, drivers hustling on, trying to get a banker lap in early, because if the weather is changing, it's changing for the worse, they need to get the time in sooner rather than later. So go for broke on your first lap.
Need to put this in the book, don't you? And you can see that it is not easy out there. These conditions, you can see the water on the side of the car as well, can't you? It's been declared wet, and you can see it's wet. It's going to be very, very tricky. Such a shame, you know, we were getting to a stage that we were getting really dry parts of the circuit around the gear circuit, the 6.1 kilometres here, but now it's windscreen wipers on, cagoles, and see the spray.
Yeah, that's got really wet really quickly at that part of the circuit.
Really wet, really quickly.
Yeah.
And although it's not touring car related, I'm beginning to think about the end of the day. We've yet to see a motorcycle on the gear circuit, and it might be that we've still got a wet track at the end of this afternoon. If this continues. That would be very, very disappointing.
Well, it wasn't drying out quickly enough, was it? And this isn't going to help. Right, you're on board with Norbert Mikulich, who is the pioneer at the moment, discovering where all the damp parts of the racetrack are. So the teams look on, but this could well be each driver's best shot. 1 or 2 cars coming into the pit lane for a tyre cross. I would not have thought you had the time to do that. You needed to stay out and get a lap time in. It doesn't matter if the tyres aren't absolutely perfect, at least you've got a lap time in.
it's kind of a nicety that you don't need to worry too much about when you've got these changing conditions. The important thing is the circuit, the way it is at the moment. It's not going to get any better, is it? It's only going to get worse.
Absolutely right, but there are people coming in. Largely, I've got to say, the local series drivers rather than the World Tour drivers that have come in to do a tyre cross. We are already with the first 5 minutes done. We're waiting at the end of this lap for a time, and Nestor Girolami has done 2 absolute bests, and Mikko Lashkina has done 1 absolute best. Mikko Lashkina 5th in the championship and lugging around 30 kilos worth of compensation weight, the so-called success ballast, if you like. The World Tour having been at Vallelonga to start the season, where Norbert Mikelic and Nestor Girolami took the wins, to Marrakesh, where Jan Erlaché and Marshall Ha were the winners. At Mid-Ohio, it was Ted Bjork and Jan Erlaché. At Interlagos, it was Esteban Guerrieri and Norbert Mikelic. At El Pinar, it was Erlaché and Ted Bjork. And then in China, at the Zhuzhou circuit, Mikko Lashkina and Mark Qing-Ha victorious there. Right, up to the timing line they come. Norbert Mikelic is going to offer the gun time, and as he breaks the beam, it's a 2:54.098, and then we wait and wait and wait. There's nobody behind him.
So, yep, circulating alone on the track, and that's really good news to get that lap in nice and early. Guerrieri comes through some 2.8 seconds slower than Norby on that lap. Ashkiner comes through and some 1 second slower than Mikelic. That may well be a very important lap time for... no, Girolami goes quickest, 2:52.027. So Girolami, top of the times, car 129. Nestor goes top. Yeah,
by 2 seconds as the rest come pouring over the line. Marco Butti goes through 7th, Dusan Borkovic 6th, Guerrieri 5th, Santiago Urrutia 4th, Mikko Lashkina 3rd, Norbert Mikelic 2nd. At this point, though, it's getting into that top 12. Rob Huff has gone through 8th, Jan Erlaché 9th, Jason Zhang 10th, Ted Bjork down to 11th now, and Mark Qing-Ha is 12th. And then that changes again because who's got himself up the order? Lo Si Ho, 9th fastest. It was here 2 years ago. He had a huge accident when he was tipped into a big shunt coming out of Mandarin by Andy Yan, but Lo Si Ho is normally very quick around here, so he could be one to watch. One of the local drivers, like Jason Zhang, threatening the World Tour regulars. Right, on board here, number 186 with Esteban Guerrieri with the GOAT Racing Honda. And because he's let Mikelic go, he's got a clear road ahead of him. But you'll be able to see in a moment where the grip level is and just how treacherous the track is.
And Mikelic is going well. He's got a purple in Sector 2, a purple in Sector 3 as well. Is in Sector 4 at the moment. Currently second quickest with a 2:54.098. And Norbert Mikelic, who claimed the title here at Macau 12 months ago, needs to press on this lap early in the session. The windscreen wipers, you can see, working hard, turns through the tight hairpin at Melco, spreading down through now. The circuit really opens up. Not nice, this.
So you come to Macau with the championship on the line, pressure. You come to Macau and it's wet and changeable, extra pressure. Norbert Mikelic, though, rising to the challenge here as he comes up towards the end of the lap through Fisherman's down towards our bend. 30 minutes they have for Q1. And it's about being in that top 12. We've got drama, though, there, as 112, rather, which is the Santiago Urrutia Lincoln Co. has gone up the escape road, down round far away. Paul Ridgway, though, with the spectacles on, the Lincoln Co. engineer, looking at the pictures, looking at the data, and Urrutia now to try to find reverse gear and a gap in the traffic. We do not want the car to sit there. We want it to move for fear of a red flag.
And we've seen the cars able to reverse out of there or roll back onto the circuit and clear that escape road so far today. But Urrutia doesn't look as if it's about to. Ashkiner goes quickest, 2:50.335, and we've got a red flag. How important is it to put those laps in early in a session? 21 minutes just under of Q1 remain, and unfortunately we need to recover that car, and Urrutia gets rolling now. So after the red flag is shown...
Isn't it always the way?
It's ironic, isn't it? Urrutia is on the move.
So the good news about that is it won't take long to restart the session, hopefully. He'll get back to the pit lane. You can understand, though, perhaps why he was a little bit reluctant to do that under a live situation, because having rolled back, it's taken an awful long time to find a gear and maybe even get the car started. There's a little bit of smoke coming out of the engine bay.
Or steam.
Yeah, which might be something to do with why it ended up at the escape road in the first place, but it's not for starting, is it?
No, it's got back on the track. So good news that Urrutia did not roll back out of that escape road when the circuit was live.
But he's now going to cause a traffic jam unless he can start that. And the danger is, as everybody else has to queue up behind him, their cars might overheat or stall, and then we're in for a longer stoppage.
So door open, driver out.
Road blocked. So they're going to end up now with a complete traffic jam whilst Urrutia's car is pushed out of the way. It's all hands to the pump to try and move that and let everybody else through at least.
So I think they're indicating turn left and we can get this car out of the way, take the cork out of the bottle, everybody else can thread their way through, and good work by the marshals to indicate that's what was needed, so we can let everybody else come back to pit lane and minimise the delay to get things back underway, and then worry about Urrutia's car.
But is the fact that it wouldn't start cause or effect of going up the escape road? You know, is that just a coincidence? Did he make a mistake, or was there a problem and therefore he had to get up the escape road? Well, either way, red flag.
What are they doing with tyres?
Let's have another look at this. The car comes up towards us, and it's slow anyway at that point, suggesting there was a problem. And yeah, Urrutia thinks, I'm not going to go anywhere else. I need to get the escape road and park. So yeah, in fairness, it wasn't a mistake. It looks like a mechanical problem.
Saw that steam already, didn't we, on the right-hand side of the car, at the right front. Now, I've just been noticing them working on tyre changes down in pit lane. Marcin Poir's car is the car we're looking at the moment, the 155 car down in pit lane. But dealing with really tricky conditions, aren't they, this weekend? Unpredictable conditions as well.
But that's one, I think, for Lisa to try to investigate, isn't it? What news, if any, of Urrutia's mechanical dramas. He is 6th in the championship. He's very much an outsider, although mathematically there's a chance, but he's out of qualifying, the car put behind the barrier. 5th, though, he was. So Santiago Urrutia, 5th quickest, notionally, could progress from there if he stays in the top 12, if the car is willing.
Urrutia's car now out of the way, so tucked neatly out of the way. The marshal's doing a good job, and Urrutia out of the car as well. And as we look down in pit lane, you can hear the air guns, the wheel guns working away on tyre changes, which you can only imagine is to make sure they've got wet tyres on.
So Norman Mikulich making his way down the pit lane. Ted Bjork for Lincoln Co. coming in as well, 3rd in the championship. And Ted Bjork, who's got 2 race wins to his name this season, talking to the team on the radio and explaining how the car feels, what he thinks they ought to be doing.
Now, obviously, we've just had a red flag. We saw Santi Urrutia's car just stop. I did speak to the mechanic in pit lane, and he just said the engine stopped. And that's all the information I got from him. But let's see if we can grab a few words from team manager Fredrik Varlen. Maybe he can elaborate on that a little bit more. Fredrik, sorry, just a few questions about Santi. What actually happened, do you think, with his car then?
He reported some technical issues on the car and it just stopped. And since we don't have any data, we don't really know. Unfortunately, it's a technical issue. So it was not him doing anything. There's something wrong with the car and we have no way of getting it back. So.
Okay, all right, best of luck. Hopefully you get things sorted there. Okay, thank you. Back to commentary.
Yeah, thanks, Lisa. So emphasising what we kind of reached, I think, wasn't it? It was a mechanical problem. You'd seen the car slow up the hill. He went for the escape road to get out of the way, but whether or not the car could have restarted or not doesn't really matter. It couldn't have been left up the escape road because then there's no room for anybody else to escape. So it did need retrieving, and that means that with just about 1/3 of Q1 gone, red flag.
It's going to damage the weekend, isn't it, Santiago?
Possibly. If it were to get wetter again now, the worst he could be is 12.
Yeah, that's true. And we've got an estimated session resumption time of 11 minutes past. That's a minute and a half away. What are they doing as far as tyres? That's brand new slick tyres going on Ashkan's car. So, what's the slick tyre, wasn't it? Yeah. So,
well, I thought it was wet.
Oh.
Slicks are coming.
Slicks are coming.
That's got grooves in it, hasn't it?
It's got grooves in it, yeah.
For Norbert Mikelish. I don't think it's quite good enough for slicks yet. There are still puddles on the road.
Do I. And I wondered about the cars that have gone out, if any went out on slicks, changing onto wets, because you saw the spray. It's really tricky out there. So Mikelic was on wets, second quickest. Ashkana, top of the times, with a 2:50.335.
Nestor Girolami there third currently, getting set to go back out.
Treading tyres.
Yeah. And currently, number 28, which is Lo Si Ho, is the fastest in TCR China. And who is the quickest out of TCR Asia at the moment? Have to go quite a long way down the order. Max Hart fighting for that championship, the Irish driver. But not yet really making an impact in the overall order. Green flag waved.
Made a great impact last year, didn't he?
Yeah.
Here at Macau. Drove exceptionally well and won a race here in the touring car category over a 2-weekend meeting here at Macau, celebrating 70 years of the Macau Grand Prix. Max acquitted himself very nicely, and good to see him back here at Macau.
Yeah, last year, those out of TCR Asia that did well in the first weekend were invited back, weren't they, to be included in the World Tour grid for the second weekend. The World Tour in its second season, but it's first as an FIA championship. And the cars, they're now back out on track. TCR Asia, it is Zhang Zhendong who is currently the fastest, yes, number 18, 7th overall. So that's the unofficial pole within TCR Asia. And Zhang Zhendong is the championship leader, 4 times a winner. Max Hart's had 2 wins, and perversely, because he had a better weekend last time out, Max Hart carries more compensation weight, an extra 10 kilos loaded onto his car than his championship rival.
So they thread their way back onto a tricky circuit, tricky conditions, even on this outlap down at Lisboa. And with ever-changing conditions over the course of this weekend so far. When we got this session underway, it's warm, ambient temperature 25 degrees, track temperature 30, and 95% humidity as the stats when we got the session underway. 19 minutes of this session remain. Ashkana, Mikelic, Girolami, Bjork, Urrutia, who is out of this session now, and Guerreri, the top 6. What of those got, sorry, David, yeah.
Only that Ted Bjork straight away, absolute best, 3rd sector. So drivers leaving nothing on the table right now. Ted Bjork is at the head of this little Lincoln Co queue, but making his way now towards the end of an outlap and knowing that he's got to push, push, push.
And for those following the Macau story of Rob Huff, so far 10th in this qualifying session for the 9-time Macau gear race winner.
Yeah, one of the quirks is that the reverse grid race, because that's the second race, is the one that goes for the gear tag. Whereas, if you like, the pure race comes from the grid after qualifying, which is the Saturday race, which for Macau purposes is the qualifying race. Anyway, it's for the World Tour, they're equal points races. And if you take all of Rob's race wins, he's chasing a 12th victory in a full distance, full points race.
It used to be when World Touring cars were competing here at Macau that they had 2 races on the Sunday with a short turnaround in between the 2 races. It was a very long period of time that a lot could go wrong. Touring cars on a Sunday. Pretty much took over 2 hours of the race time on Sunday, and having a race on Saturday, a race on Sunday is a good way to space out. They used to have Saturday off. Touring car drivers would be often doing other things on Saturday, doing appearances, photographs, all that kind of thing.
Right, 17 minutes then, still on the clock. And Ted Bjork absolute best within the first sector as he tries to escape, coming down towards Lisboa. The Lincoln Co goes through that right-hander. Ted, who first came to prominence as a sports car driver many years ago in the FIA Sports Racing Series with Larry Oberto, and now very much a touring car champion, touring car star. So he's the man to watch on this first flying lap after the red flag. And he's getting away from everybody else, so he's got the road to himself. Mikkel Ashkona, though, goes even quicker within the first sector. So Ashkona, absolute best sector 1. Bjork, absolute best in sector 2 now.
So Bjork goes purple in sector 2, Ashkona purple in sectors 1 and 2 now. So already top of the times is Mikkel Ashkona with a best lap of 2:53.35 and on target to go even quicker. Butty went overall quickest in the first sector on that lap, and Girolami now goes quicker in sector 2. They've got to make these laps early on in this session. There is no real definite indication on what the weather is going to do over the course of this qualifying session. 16 minutes remain. Boy, is it tight as the Lincoln Co's thread their way around. Ted Bjork just in front of Jan Lachey, and Ashkona goes purple in sector 3. Overall best for Ashkona in sector 3.
Yeah, it's going to be Ted Bjork, isn't it? The 2017 world champion that will offer you the target time. But then those behind, I think, are going to go quicker still. Ted Bjork coming then through the Melco hairpin. He's only got 10 kilos of compensation weight on that car. Mikkel Ashkona, though, has got 30. And he is also doing purple sectors, and we've got another absolute best ever so briefly by Ma Xinhua, number 155 Lincoln Co, which is the second of these. Ma Xinhua sitting on the tail, sitting on the shoulder virtually of Ted Bjork, coming out of Fisherman's Bend. The Lincoln Co Brains Trust see Ted Bjork bail and let Ma Xinhua go ahead of him. So number 155 Ma Xinhua is going to go for a time, and in fact Ted Bjork, despite what looked like an impressive lap, is going to go for the pit lane. Looks a little bit brighter now coming out of our bend up towards the line, and Ma Xinhua goes fastest briefly on a 2:46, but Mikkel Ashkona absolutely blitzes that 4.7 seconds quicker to do a 2:41. So he knocks everything else out of the park, does Mikkel Ashkona, to go to the top. And Nestor Girolami goes second, 0.8 of a second back. What about Rob Huff, first flying lap, goes fourth quickest, 2:46.867.
That states intent, doesn't it, for Ashkona, 2:41.705. We said how important it will be to go quickly early on in this session, because we don't know what's going to happen. You never do at Macau, when the weather is changeable, even more so, even more important. Get those laps in the bank nice and early. 2:41.705. Mikkel Ashkona has done exactly that. Girolami second, a 2:42.507, and has just gone purple in sector 1.
Okay, so the Honda looking good as drama at the Melco hairpin. One or two of the local drivers tripping over themselves and each other, but I think they're going to sort themselves out, and we should be good to keep the road clear. The Hyundai's there, the Elantra's getting themselves together.
Ma Xinhua has gone purple in sector 2.
Yeah, he was good on that previous lap, wasn't he?
Yeah,
but
really good.
Now you've got up to third fastest, Rainy He, who is the fastest out of TCR China, ahead of Andy Yan. Marco Butti has done an absolute best. I think this is all down to the fact that the road is drying and Bjork's rolling the dice. He's need to go slicks.
Yeah, so we wondered when Ted came into pit lane what was going to happen. We know now. Slick tyres, dry tyres going on Ted Bjork's car. Currently down in pit lane, about to be turned round. So too for Guerreri. So tyre changes happening down in pit lane. This is a rather frantic half an hour, isn't it?
It's good, this 30 minutes to go, and
really
you're going to lose another 3 with an outlap. So Ted Bjork may have done the right thing by going to put those tyres on early. Marco Butti is lighting up the timing screen as well. You're riding with Ted Bjork as he rejoins the road. So the very rapid Swedish driver back on track in the Lincoln Co. Another absolute best from Nestor Girolami. And it's a slower lap by Mikkel Ashkona this time, making me think that he's going to head for the pit lane.
I think you may well be right. It's a busy pit lane at the moment with tyre changes happening and threading around the Melco hairpin, avoiding those barriers on the exits of the corner, then the green flashing light out of the yellow flag zone, which reigns throughout the 4 days of the Macau Grand Prix. Girolami has gone purple in sectors 3 and 4. And Marcin Hua goes top. 2:40.811. Marcin Hua, top of the times, car 155. Great lap.
But is it going to stay there? Because as you rightly say, Girolami looks really good and he goes quickest now. 2:38.221, 2.5 seconds quicker. 2.5 seconds quicker than anybody else. Mikkel Ashkiner is indeed down the pit lane. The other one to watch is going to be the GOAT Racing Honda of Marco Butti. Butti is on a roll at the moment and he's done 2 absolutes and 2 personal bests. So using his loaf here, knowing when to put the right tyres on is Marco Butti, as he will head towards the timing line. So it's Girolami from Ashkiner. Norbert Mikelic is into the pit lane as well. Girolami down to Lisboa, and we're waiting still for Marco Butti to come through. Rainy Hurt is up to 5th. Marco Butti goes 2nd, misses out from pole, or the top time at least, by 7/10 of a second. But it's Girolami from Butti from Ashkiner 4th, Rainy Hurt is 5th, and Jason Zhang is 6th.
Into the last third in a moment, because we've got 11 minutes remaining on the clock, just over. And this is a fascinating session. The weather has really played a part in the 2 days so far, and with 5 wheel nuts on each of the 4 corners of the cars, tyre changes take a little while. Off come the wets, on go the dries for the reigning champion, for Norbert Mikelic, who is at the moment down the order as the conditions get better and better. Norby is down there in 15th place at the moment, going through the tyre change.
And everybody within the entry is eligible for the Kumho FIA TCR World Tour. So even if you're not a regular, that doesn't mean that you are ignored for the purposes of points or the purposes of the next part of qualifying. So it's all in as far as the World Tour part of this is concerned. Now there is Ted Bjork. Remember, he is a lap ahead of everybody else in terms of the slick tyres and getting them up to temperature. At Volcano Motorsport, that is Rob Huff's car with the bonnet up. And 10 more minutes remain. Huff at the moment is 13th. Right, so this is Bjork, and he's on a mission. He is onto a flying lap now. He's got the tyres a little bit warmer. Others look in the background have just left the pit lane and are weaving around to generate the warmth. Ashkiner has rejoined. Mikelic has rejoined. Huff now on his way out of the pit lane too. It's going to be a real scramble, isn't it, for just over 9.5 minutes on a circuit that is drying, but there are still damp patches, and it can catch you out. Look, there, coming under the Pirelli banner, you've got another puddle, another damp section, so the drivers have got to be so careful here.
You need to, yeah, really keep it neat and tidy through this twisty and very close section of the circuit, threading up, threading down, left, right, through the Solitude S's on towards ultimately the Melco hairpin, where the circuit after the hairpin opens up. And Ted Bjork is going to be the first really glimpse into what the dry tyres are going to be able to do here. And there's traffic, and there's unfortunately a car stranded in a very peculiar place at the Melco hairpin as well. Yeah,
I wonder whether that's a spin or it's been a tag that's turned the car around. I think that is Man Siu Ming's Evolve Racing Honda Civic that we had at the Escape Road yesterday. There's another incident between Gary Kwok and Dusan Borkovic that's going to be looked at after the session. But right now, some drivers not even prepared to try to go around the outside, and if the road remains like that, it's going to be another red flag. 8.5 minutes on the clock, and it's another red flag. Ted Bjork is going to have this really good lap spoiled, because here, look at the Melco hairpin. We have got a car park, and the second red flag flies. And guess what? Now, the road opens up a little bit. So Ted Bjork turns through the hairpin, but the red flag's already been called for, and so yet again they will come to the pit lane, and from your 8.5 minutes, take 3 out for your out lap, roundabout. 5 minutes of competitive mileage.
It has been exciting enough already, and now with yeah, the prospect of just 8.5 minutes remaining on the clock for this Q1.
So let's have a look. It's a big slide. Oh, it's Lose Ho's car. Yeah. It's gone around. That Evolve Racing entry. And he just got it wrong, and round came the back. So evidence that even though people have gone for slicks, it's still greasy and it can still catch you out. So Lo Se Ho is the one that went around.
You've got to be absolutely on the dry line, haven't you? You can't afford to put even 2 wheels off on the wet part of the circuit. With 95% humidity, it has been a difficult job to drive the circuit. And with touring cars out, 4 wheels, they can negotiate the challenging conditions that we've had over the day and a half so far here at Macau, but I'm still with a thought to the end of the day as well, and whether we get a dry circuit in time for the end of the day when motorcycles are due to go on circuit for the first time. At the moment, it's all about touring cars and getting them back to pit lane. Motorcycles have yet to turn a wheel in 2024.
And 1 or 2 drivers out of their cars even, so pondering whether or not it's going to be worth going out again. So big frustration. And Lo Se Ho's car, again, strangely, doesn't want to fire up, does it? I wonder whether that was something mechanical that seized that caused the car to get away from him, because...
It's on a weird line on the approach, wasn't it?
But in fairness to Lo Se Ho, he is a very quick driver and he knows his way around here, so I'm surprised that it was him, for example, that was caught out under those circumstances.
The incredibly impressive lifting equipment that proliferates around the gears circuit here at Macau, and we should be able to get the car recovered and out of the way fairly quickly, but the damage already done. And guess what, everybody? We've got sunshine again here at Macau. That's a much more usual picture than we had from the commentary box at Macau.
So I just found Santi Urrutia in pit lane. Obviously, we saw him retire from the qualifying session a few moments ago. Let's just see actually what happened from his seat. Santi, just a few moments. Sorry to interrupt there. Obviously, we saw you retire from the session. What actually happened?
I think I got an electrical failure. I don't know, just the dash went blind and then I couldn't run the car. It's racing, it is what it is. I feel shame for the team. You know, I was having a good pace, P3, just taking it easy. Now I hope my teammates can get inside the top 10, you know, for Q2. But yeah, sometimes goes like this, so nothing I can do. I'm very sad for the team, but looking forward to my teammates, so I hope they can collect good points.
Absolutely, these things happen, of course, that's racing, but you guys, you're obviously going for the team championship this weekend. I guess the pressure is really on tomorrow for the race.
Yeah, I mean, in this situation, you know, we are professional drivers, so this is the time we need to deliver under pressure. Macau is not easy, you know. It was very difficult at the beginning. Everyone was trying to get it easy, but at the same time you need to push, you know. So now, you know, for them it's a bit more pressure because they're driving as well for the Drivers' Championship, apart from the Team's Championship. But they are one of the best drivers in the world, so they will do it.
Thanks, Santi. Unlucky for today. Thank you. Back to commentary.
Thanks, Lisa. Good to hear from Santi down in pit lane, and explains that. So an electrical problem led to the session coming to an end for Urrutia.
And he's now been dumped out of that top 12, so he can't benefit from the reverse grid.
Yep.
It's the top 10 that are reverse, it's the top 12 that go through, but he won't be able to benefit from the reverse grid race because he'll be out of that zone, as it were. And we've got 8 minutes and 27 seconds on the clock when we get back underway. You're sitting on board with Ted Bjork at the moment.
He was in the zone, wasn't he? And unfortunately, scuppered the first to go onto the dry tyres.
Lisa?
Now, I'm still in pit lane, and I really want to speak to Gabriele Tarquini, team manager BRC Hyundai, just because the championship leader, Norby, hasn't set a fastest lap yet. Not the best news at this stage of the game. Gabriele, he's a little bit busy. I think we're going to be restarting in about 50 seconds, so I'll just, if I can, grab a few words with one of the Gabrieles. Gabriele, sorry, I know this is tense moments for you and the team. Obviously, Norby hasn't set a fast lap yet. It's difficult moments at the moment.
Yeah, especially because we had this rain in the beginning, so we try different solution on tires, and now it's completely dry. We hope to score a lap.
Best luck for the rest of the session. Thanks for talking to us, Gabriele. Okay, back to commentary.
Right, here we go again then. So take 3, 8.5 minutes are on the clock, just about, and we are going to have the green flag shown in about 45 seconds' time. And a Mexican or a Lisboan wave has started.
That's impressive, isn't it? It's only Friday.
Yes.
We've got a couple of days to build on that over the course of the 71st Macau Grand Prix. And spirits are high in the grandstands. Interesting that Gabriele Tarquini said completely dry. That's from a racing driver's point of view. We look on and think it's not dry. He's probably thinking about the dry line around the circuit.
Yeah. Esteban Guerrieri set to go, and 3 seconds, 2 seconds before we get that green light at the end of the pit road, and the car's now released back on track. There are quite a few drivers here who are going to need to dig deep. Max Hart, by the way, into the top 10, but under investigation for overtaking under a red flag. And Lo Se-ho and Santiago Urrutia, best lap deleted for causing the red flag. Or flag, sir. But their lap times taken from them. So Lo Se-ho currently 9th, so he's going to drop. That might be to the benefit of others. Right, the surviving Link and Coes together at the head of the queue, coming down towards Lisboa now.
So just under 8 minutes of this first segment of qualifying 1 for the Macau gear race, the Kumho FIA TCR World Tour events of Macau underway. Let's see if we can run this final section of Q1 without interruption. Heat in tyres is the order of the day. Teammates are going to be working together to just get the cars up to temperature on this outlap from pit lane. What's going to happen in the next 7 minutes? More so, oh dear. I'll tell you what's going to happen. Shershin Jur in the Honda Civic is going to have a problem down at Lisboa. It can get going again, that's good news. So it's not dry everywhere, is it? It's very easy to be over impetuous when leaving the pit lane when you know you've got a limited amount of time, and I think that's what happened there.
But isn't it fascinating to watch how different people treat all of this? So it was Martin Shee, wasn't it, we were talking about, and there he is, just straight on. And it's easy to sit and judge, but as we've seen it more really from the onboard with the single-seaters. You sit low in a racing car and those barriers are pretty high and you can't see the corner until you're on top of it, and then you've got to turn right. So judging it and even overtaking into that corner, not easy. Another one up the escape road. This time it is Man Siu Ming. I was wrong in saying he was off at Melco, but I'm right in saying he's gone straight on at Lisboa, and not for the first time.
Threading their way around the Melco hairpin and down to complete the lap, the outlap from pit lane, and get the first flying lap of this resumed session. We've had 2 stoppages in this half an hour. Gabriele Tarquini has been coming here to Macau for many years, as a driver. He's seen it all before. He knows what it is to plan these sessions and plan to get a lap in as soon as you possibly can. And that is what Ted Bjork is about to try and do.
Yeah, Gabriele Tarquini overseeing the Hyundai assault, and as he made the point yesterday to Lisa Leyland, although it's a bit of a surprise to hear it, he never won a race here. He won titles at Macau, but never individual races. Right, Ted Bjork on a mission, and the road is now going to dry pretty quickly, I think, because Alan is right. Finally, the sky is breaking, the sun is being able to get through, and it won't be long if it carries on in that vein without further cloud cover that those puddles, those damp patches disappear. Bjork down to Lisboa, turns in, powers out the other side. He's got Erlache, amongst others, chasing after him. But the climb up San Francisco Hill, a steep climb up San Francisco Hill as well.
It is, and Ted Bjork was on course to be the first of those to set a time on dry tyres. Now is able to press on, and with nothing in front as he threads the car through that twisty section. Engineers looking on. Paul Ridgway for the first time down in pit lane, they're having to shield from the sunshine to see the laptops.
Paul Ridgway studying what time his ring and ride is. Marco Butti, absolute best in the first sector now, the Italian driver who was the on-the-road winner of the touring car race at the FIA Motorsport Games, and then ended up being excluded for putting the anti-lag on during the race, so he lost the win. Mikko Räikkönen, though, absolute best middle sector. Jan Erlacher, absolute best third sector. So these final 4 minutes are going to really be coming alive, aren't they now? And pretty much every car coming over the line is going to shuffle the order. At this point, remember, it's being in the top 12 that matters. It's nice to be the quickest, but as long as you're in the 12 to progress, that's the important part about it.
Just outside the top 12 is Rob Huff, 9-time winner here at Macau. Just outside the top 12, Marcin Hua goes overall best in Sector 3. This is going to be fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah.
3.5 minutes to go.
Right, Björk on a mission. Ted Björk at the moment is not only not in that top 12, he's not even in the top 16. So let's see what he can do as down towards the end of the lap, Marcin Hua coming towards the end of Sector 5, just like Ted Björk, trying to stay in that top 12, or in Björk's case, get into the top 12. Jan Erlacher also knocking on the door of it. Here is Björk down now towards the right-hander of our bend, up towards the line, and this ought to put him into the mix as he breaks the beam, and he goes fastest, 2:32.3. Erlacher now goes quickest of all as he comes over the line, and Marcin Hua goes quickest as he comes over the line. So we're into the 31s now, 2:31.7, and it's just over a tenth of a second splitting the top two. Marcin Hua from Jan Erlacher.
With the sunshine coming out, this is electrifying. The final 3 minutes of Q1 for the Macau gear race and the Kumho FIA TCR World Tour event of Macau, and a car once again stricken up at the hairpin.
But I think being able to get itself moving again as Norbert Mikelish then goes through. He was 5th fastest at the end of that previous lap, 1.7 seconds away from the top spot. But again, it is being in that top 12 at the moment to go through into Q2 that we're focusing on. Marcin Hua then from Jan Erlacher and Ted Björk. Marco Butti is 4th, Mikko Räikkönen 5th, Dusan Vukovic 6th. Then it's Mikelish, Guerrier, Mick Girolami, Zhang Zhendong, Martin Tsao and David Zhu. They are the 12. Correction, John Filippi gets up to 11th now in the Volcano Audi, and Rob Huff was 12th, but he's been elbowed back to 13th, to 14th, to 15th, because others like Andy Yan and Zhang Zhendong go quicker.
I was about to say, Huffy, where are you? He wasn't on our first screen, which goes down to 16th place, currently occupied by an Irish driver, Max Hart, and Rob Huff, 16th and 15th place respectively. So come on, the two of you, into the top 12 is what's required. 1.5 minutes to do it.
So Marco Butti, absolute best sector 1, Jan Erlacher, absolute best sector 2. Comes from good racing stock, of course, Jan Erlacher, because his uncle is Ivan Muller, his mum, Kathy Muller, a very good Formula 3 racer many, many years ago. The next one up the escape road at Lisboa is, as you can see there, number 9, that is David Zhu, and he is 11th fastest, so that means he can progress, but if he stops there and causes a red, he'll lose his lap time, so he's got to try and get that car moving and keep the engine running. It's going to be a to and fro job, but he's up the escape road. Please keep it moving. We don't need another red flag with a minute on the clock. It's going to... Red flag, it's happened. Another red, and that's the reason there's a very, very broken car sitting against the wall of Wu Yifan, and that's at San Francisco Hill. He's had a real moment there, and the teams, I can almost hear the groan from the pit lane as they see all of that. There are bits everywhere. He's had a good go at the barrier. He's taken the conveyor down as well, hasn't he, the belting, and that's a very broken car. Most of the damage on the left front corner, but with a minute to go, that's the end of Q1 effectively, because even if it were resumed, you get the checkered flag at the end of the outlap.
And a few are going to suffer, aren't they, because they are not within the top 12 with just 1 minute and 1 second yet to go. A very damaged car brings out our 3rd red flag in half an hour for the Macau gear race and the Kumho FIA TCR World Tour events of Macau. There are going to be a few frustrated drivers.
Yes, best lap time deleted for causing a red flag there for Wu Yifan. That's the least of his worries, because he might find himself being lynched by some, because as you rightly say, there are some big names the wrong side of the top 12 there. Oh, what a shame though. In fairness, it was not the car at the escape road, it was this incident. Have a look at the top of the screen, because coming through San Francisco in a moment, we'll get the incident, and he's just completely wrong, slides out of the corner, almost as though something else had happened earlier on, but there's nobody else around him to have made contact, so whatever happened for Yui Fan, it was a very strange line, and he's ended up in the barrier on the outside of the road.
Drifted into the barrier. A lot of that debris that we saw on circuit was from the barrier itself, not so much from the car.
I just wonder whether he tried to go for the apex and actually clip the barrier on the inside, and that fired him to the outside.
Yeah, very possibly.
Otherwise, it's a rather odd one. Right, a minute remaining of Q1. The session will not be resumed. And there is Wui Fan's car being hoiked out of the way.
Doesn't take long to remove the car. Might take a little bit longer to rectify that barrier down there. There's enough marshals on duty overseeing the removal of the car, and will be actively involved in the rebuilding of the barrier as well. Getting ready for 15 minutes this time. 15 minutes for Q2. And we have our top 12. We've got our names. They appear on the timing screen. Intake of breath. Preparation of cars with tyres. And the first half of qualifying was exciting enough. Now we've got the top 12 about to shoot out over 15 minutes.
One of those that has made it through is Martin Cao, who is second in TCR China in the championship. Good for him.
So as you've all seen, we've just had our third red flag of this session with just 1 minute to go. Let's speak to team manager Andrea Kachinko from Volcano Motorsports, because Rob Huff is currently P15. He hasn't gone through. Sorry to speak to you at this tense time. Rob, P15, he hasn't gone through to Q2. Not the best start to his Macau campaign.
No, not at all, because obviously with the conditions, rain in the beginning and not able to set any fast laps, you know, we were blocked on the fastest lap, so pretty frustrated with these results.
I mean, there's been so many things thrown in the team's way. Obviously, at this stage of the game as well, with the weather conditions, it's a case of just getting out there fast, set that fast lap early.
Yeah, I mean, he was fast in the end, but he got blocked in the fourth and the fifth sector by the slower car, so he couldn't get a good lap time.
And just quickly, at one point we saw him in pit lane. The boot of the bonnet was up. What were you working on there?
Yeah, we had a slight issue on the engine, so one of the tubes got loose, so we fitted it back, so everything was fine.
So that didn't impact anything?
Yeah, that should be no good problem.
Okay, well, best of luck for the rest of the weekend. Thank you. Okay, back to commentary.
In fairness, asking a private team to defeat the manufacturers is quite a tall order anyway, and I think they were pinning their hopes on a reverse grid race story, but it ain't going to happen easily from 15th, that's for sure. Right, we are about 8 minutes away from the start of Q2. So there the repair work to the barrier, the sweeping of the circuit completed, and in a few moments' time, once the last few cars are in. Some drivers, their work done for the day, others can try to get themselves in the zone for Q2. Now, am I being really stupid when I say that with only 12 cars on track and the best 12 that we've had thus far over the course of the day, it'll all go seamlessly?
It'll be fine.
Yeah.
Absolutely fine.
What could go wrong?
It will go with...
Okay, I'm now joined with Rob Huff here in pit lane. Rob, you probably don't want the camera shoved in your face at this stage of the game, but difficult times out there and you couldn't go through to Q2. What happened from your seat?
The guys at the front want to do like F1 style outlaps,
Right.
and they're taking like 4 minutes. You go to try and overtake them, they weave and block. The Chinese championship, they're flat out straight away. Obviously joining the championship now, we get let out in the middle of them all, and it's a case if you can't get past the guys in front because they're blocking you, and then the guys behind come at you at 200 k's an hour, and then there's just nowhere to go. So you try and do a lap, but then you catch the guys in front, then it's a red flag. So yeah, I mean, I did one lap in the beginning on slicks in the wet, and that was the qualifying time, so we never got a lap again. But it's just frustrating because why the hell we need to try and do Formula One style outlaps at 4.5 minutes a lap? I have no freaking clue whatsoever.
Okay, well, thanks for the insight, Rob. Thank you. Best of luck for the races. Back to commentary.
The frustration is palpable, isn't it? And he makes a valid point. You know, when track time is at a premium, you don't need to be crawling around. And the blocking is because, yes, people don't want you to get past because they want the clear road ahead of them, and they don't want to let you by because then that's another car that can get in their way. So you can understand his frustration. You can understand why some of the tactics are pulled by the others. Anyway, the Rob Huff story this year is going to be a rather different one from many a season at Macau. But the main focus is now what's going to happen in Q2, especially given that this is where we start allocating points to the fastest 6 as well, and how this is going to affect the championship. So just to remind you, the ones that have gone through: Marcin Hua, Jan Erlaché, Ted Björk, Marco Butti, Mikuláš Dušanbokovic, he's gone really well thus far, Norbert Mikuliš, Esteban Guerrieri and Nestor Girolami. They're your World Tour regulars, if you like. And then Martin Sau, David Zhu and Andy Yan, 3 local drivers whose pace at the end of qualifying got them in there.
So 15 minutes in prospect once we get this qualifying session back underway.
Let's grab a few words now with Pepe Oriala, team manager from GOAT Racing, just before Q2 starts. Pepe, that was a tough one for everyone, wasn't it?
Yeah, really hard. Macau qualifying is always special with a lot of red flags, a lot of cars. Especially we had this raining that came in the last minute before starting the session. We were out of Q2 with 2 of my drivers. We used the slipstream to tow Buti, Esteban and Dusan. We are in, let's see Q2 now, but yeah, really stressful qualifying.
Best of luck for the next session. Thanks, Pepe.
So Pepe Oriola, the man behind GOAT Racing, we'll see his headset back on, strides towards the cars, and we are getting closer then to the 15 minutes. And again, you take, say, 3 minutes out for an outlap, or 4 in the case of what Rob Huff was describing for the top drivers. Why are they taking so long? Well, it's because they're slow outlaps to try and let the car ahead go so that they don't have traffic ahead. It's interesting to see now what Martin Sau, David Zhu and Andy Yan can do as the local drivers. They're not in there as token locals, they're in there as quick locals, and they outpaced others. They're on merit.
Drivers that we've mentioned very much over the years here at Macau as drivers that can do extremely well around the twisty demands and tests of the gear circuit here at Macau. Drivers now preparing themselves for 15 minutes in a sunny condition now here at Macau, which is very nice to see, nice to say as well, because it's the first time in the last day and a half that we've had a prolonged period of sunshine. Probably about the last 10 minutes we've had sunshine glinting down, and with Marcin Hua taking a bit of fluid on board, getting ready for the next challenge of qualifying.
Let's grab a few words with Fredrik Varlen from Lincoln Co Racing. Just because we saw Jan Erlaché, he took some time setting that fastest lap, and at one point I did think he's not going to make it through. But let's see what the approach was there. Fredrik, just a few words with you. Just talk about Jan quickly. It looked like he took some time to set that fastest lap. I mean, there was tense moments at one point, wasn't it?
Yeah, but we have to put on a good show, don't we?
Oh, so you're playing games with us, Fredrik.
No, it's going to be a tough one now. But now the conditions are at least stable, so now we just go for it.
Yeah, okay, best of luck for this next session. Thank you.
Tense time still, I think, on the pit wall as they try to get set for qualifying 2. It is definitely getting brighter. Umbrellas are now being used as parasols rather than to keep the rain off. And it is just looking brighter all round here now at Macau, which is good news. We are forecast proper weather, nice sunshine for Saturday and Sunday. It's been a very wet Thursday. Yeah. It's been a mixed Friday, but we're getting towards the good bit.
Proper Macau weather in prospect for qualifying race day and for race day as well. We've had unusual weather so far. If the sunshine does continue, may well be dry by the end of today. What else have we got coming up? Well, we've got 15 minutes in prospect for the touring cars, then half an hour of qualifying for the FIA GT World Cup, the Macau GT Cup GT3 machinery around the streets of Macau. A symphony of noise around Macau in prospect, and then qualifying 2 for the Macau Grand Prix, the FIA FR World Cup, their first chance to be around the streets of Macau in drier conditions. So a mouth-watering prospect for the afternoon here at Macau. and hopefully, all things being well, motorcycles to complete the afternoon here at Macau. All things being well.
Right, drivers are ready, and the 1 minute board is being shown, and the last part of qualifying of the season for the Kumho FIA TCR World Tour drivers is about to get underway. Fastest here, pole position, 15 points in the championship. So it's a very important, perhaps the most important 15 minutes of the season. It'll weed out some for the championship. It could give you a different championship leader. It's going to be a very, very important 15 minutes for the title outcome, which will be decided on Sunday afternoon.
Engines fired up. Team about to signal the cars onto the circuit to get this Q2 underway. 15 minutes around the streets of Macau in the sunshine, and it's Friday afternoon here at Macau, and we already have grandstands very full indeed to welcome the cars onto the circuit. Green flag is waved, and very quickly they want to get out onto the track for good reason as well. Dry tyres the option. If you think back to about 30 minutes ago, 35 minutes ago, 40 minutes ago, getting this session underway, there were treaded tyres being used, and now, no question about it, dry all the way around the circuit. That's what they want.
Absolutely right. So now a bone dry circuit, and busy weaving to get the warmth into the tyres, to get them to switch on quickly. Now, given the length of the lap, are we going to see a tyre cross? Because it's going to, of course, mean that you lose another 3 minutes with yet another outlap after the pit stop, and of course you lose the time taken while you're in the pit lane. So
in the ideal world, yes.
Yeah, but I'm not sure. Well,
15 minutes.
Yeah, long lap, 6 kilometres. We'll find out, won't we? But I suspect you don't. You work the tyres hard all the way around the lap, and you're on board now with Ted Björk, and he's making his way from San Francisco Hill up towards Teddy Yip, then to Eternity, and on towards the Solitude S's.
Tense is not the word down in pit lane. Anything can happen at Macau, and very often does. We've got a very limited amount of time for Q2 around the streets of Macau. Look how dry it is in certain sections now with the sunshine out. There's a few sort of shaded areas that have still got quite a few damp areas, damp patches. Stay on the line, and you can have a jolly good lap around the gear circuit. Probably the best lap of any over the course of the day and a half we've had so far.
Now the Lincoln Co's sort of running in close proximity, which you could argue is to try and give somebody a tow, but you've also heard that it's every man for himself right now, so they need to be fighting for themselves in terms of a grid position, because we're not yet at a point of team orders, are we? So there they all are, en masse, en bloc, the Lincoln Co's, or Lynx and Co, depending on your preference, all coming out of the hairpin, and the Hyundai fleet behind, trying to let them escape. The same is true, I think, of cars from other teams. Let the cars ahead go, buy yourself that clear track space, as you've got Guerrieri and Borkovic going through. Martin Tao, Andy Yan, David Zhu, the others. So as the field now comes down towards Fisherman's, speed building, the first flying lap will be started in a moment by some, possibly by all. Well, the Lincoln Co's stay out, so there's part of the tyre cross answer. They're going to go for a time.
Probably not a bad decision, is it, with 12 minutes after the outlap left to go, and we have proven time and time again at Macau, you need to get a quick lap in the book early on.
Yeah.
If you want to worry about niceties, then maybe do it after you've got a lap in the bank, and that's what they're about to do.
And Ted Björk closing on the traffic ahead. He's going to have to go to the outside line to get through, coming down towards Lisboa. In fairness, his teammate lets him go, so Ted Björk, he's the first one to really push. Alache and Mar on track 2. So let's ride with Björk then, making the run now up San Francisco Hill.
up the hill. You see the barriers and the walls close in. This is the very demanding section of the circuit, and it is quite incredible. Year after year, we see these touring cars, these TCR cars, are able to squeeze by other cars on this section. You can barely believe it, can you? When you see the wall on the left-hand side, the barrier on the right. Is there space? Yes, but you have to be brave. At this point, Ted Bjork can absolutely pick his line.
So the car that you saw bailing down to Lisboa was that of Marcin Khoa, who slackened off his pace and let the others go. Ted Bjork then here with the clear road ahead of him, coming up towards Faraway Hill. And will drop down towards Police and to Moorish in a moment as he comes then into this sharp right. A little bit of correction needed there, but he got away without hitting anything. Road climbs slightly, sharp right again. Narrow, 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 but he's fine. He's up the hill. And Ted Bjork doing an absolute best within sector 3, although those behind might be able to go better. Now left into the long left, Donna Maria over those parking spaces on the inside. Still climbing at this point. And only about now does the road start to plateau, and you can think about the hairpin. We've got big, big damage done yet again. That's going to be a red flag straight away. The Honda, very broken indeed as it sits on the circuit. 10 minutes we had. Nobody has done a proper flying lap. And the teams just can't believe it. Every time they think they can sort of go for a time and concentrate on the run plan, it all changes.
And that further endorses what we were saying about putting a lap in the bank early on in the session. Anything can happen. 15 minutes and already we have lost 4.5 minutes of this part of qualifying and no lap in the book. What happened to the Honda? Bang! And then push back onto the centre of the circuit. That was a nibble, wasn't it, just to get through, and Guerreri just able to squeeze through.
It was Marco Butti's Honda, and there you can see it, massive impact into the barrier, sort of understeers out wide, and the gap closes, but he just makes it. There was contact to get through, but wow. Marco Butti had done an absolute best in the first sector before he headbutted the wall, so that's him done. Wow. So the fans seeing themselves on the big screens. The cars now coming back into the pit lane. Paul Ridgway barking instructions to his drivers on the radio. And the cars will go back to the teams. And Marco Butti's lap, or such as it was, as broken as the car. Now you can see all the debris lying on the road. This will take a few minutes to clear up. What the teams can at least now do in sort of dead time, if you like, is do a tyre cross, because they're going to have to go out again and warm them up, so you might as well put them on the different corners. But Marco Butti surveys the wreckage, outlap, pressing on, trying hard. The GOAT Racing team is, with respect to it, not the one with the biggest of budgets that can ill afford things like that. And the sister car of Dusan Borkovic had to elbow its way through, so that's why it's picked up damage by having to go for the narrowing gap. Here it is again. Wait for Butti to come into view. Just understeers way out wide and kaboom into the wall. Damage to the front of the car, takes off the wheel. And there, just being able to get through is Guerrieri. And Borkovic has even less chance, but glances off his teammate. And there you can see a really, really hard hit from Marco Butti that straight away takes a wheel off the car, lots of front damage as well. So that car broken and the session stopped. Tyre cross goes for some in the pit lane, but Marco Butti will not be taking part in the resumption of the session. Right, so there's the Honda needing to be collected, and all the debris, all the bits of it needing to be collected as well. So huge frustration for everybody, not least GOAT Racing, because that's a very badly damaged Honda.
Butti had been very, very committed, hadn't he, on the gear circuit here at Macau yesterday and today as well. Very quick as well. And that is unfortunately what happens if you're living life on the edge, committed in qualifying at Macau. There is no space for any kind of mistake.
So the drivers in the pit lane awaiting news for the resumption of the session. And Marco Butti causing that red flag. He'll go to the back of the 12. So Ted Buick, Jan Lachey, Marcin Hua, Michael Ashkinen, Norbert Mikulic, Nestor Girolami, Esteban Guerrieri, Dusan Borkovic, Martin Sau, David Zhu, Andy Yan. They're the ones that will go again. Marco Butti's car there still needing to be collected, as are all of its bits that have been broken after a really hard hit into the barriers.
So recovery in process. When we get this session back underway, we'll have 10 minutes and 23 seconds of this session remaining. But you have to factor into this, they've got 3 minutes to get out of pit lane around the circuit and then go on to a quick lap. With no quick laps having been yet recorded, we have an expectant crowd, a big crowd for Friday here, day 2 of Macau for 2024, the 71st Macau Grand Prix.
As the teams await news to get things back underway. So nobody having been able to do a lap time. It's a complete reset. And yeah, as Alan makes the point, take out those 3 minutes and a bit for an out lap, and we're going to have a very, very short, sharp blast as well, which puts the pressure on, which doesn't necessarily bode well. And so much for our theory about Q2 going swimmingly, given that there were fewer cars on the road. Pepe Oriola, the man behind Goat Racing, will be very, very frustrated indeed with that damage to Marco Butti's car. Let's go to the pits.
Now I'm just joined by Pepe Oriola, team manager from Goat Racing. Obviously we saw Marco Butti make impact when he was on a fast lap. The most important thing is that he's okay. Have you spoken to him? Have you communicated?
Yeah, the driver is okay, just really upset because he was coming for pole. He was purple in sector 1 and close in sector 2. Also almost compromised Esteban's lap, which is fighting for the championship because he was right behind. He's young, he was giving his best, and tomorrow is another day. Let's see that if Esteban can put it together, and let's fight tomorrow for the championship.
Okay. Thank you, Pepe.
And Pepe Oriola, don't forget, no-mean driver himself, very successful touring car and one-make touring car driver. So he trudges away, and they'll assess the damage once they've got the car back. But you know it's a big hit when a wheel is ripped off. It's been quite a damaging day, really.
Seen a few wheels ripped off today, haven't we?
Yeah, not just in touring car terms, but all the other race categories that we've got here at Macau have had dramas aplenty over the course of the morning. And another look at the impact. So he's wrong into this third sector, and bang. That's a big, big hit. That, just getting through, was Esteban Guerrieri, and Dusan Borkovic picks up a bit of damage as he goes through. Here's the look from on board with Guerrieri. And the gap closes, but he just gets through, yeah.
Just gets through. Just a tickle on the right-hand side, and the team were very quick to check the car when it came in. Right, the car already being recovered, that's good news. 10 minutes and 23 seconds, the time left on the clock for this 15 minutes Q2. And with Butti's car now requiring pretty extensive repairs, there will be 11 cars taking this restart. Sunshine continues here at Macau. Looks a lot more normal, doesn't it, looking out rather than seeing the splashing of rain in puddles on the tarmac of Macau. The sunshine and T-shirts is much more what we're used to over the years here around the gear circuit. So marshals now having to address the fluid as a result of that. It's an understeer, just the most horrible, horrible feeling.
Yeah. It is indeed. They've got to be quick with this because 2 minutes and we'll have a green flag. So quickly put the cement dust or the speedy dry down. They're good to go. Is Michael Ashkinen, 5th in the championship with his 30 kilos of compensation weight. And you can see how close to the wall and close to other things he's got. Witness marks all down the side of the car.
very close indeed, the answer. And just note on the timing screen, reminding everybody of the slippery track. I think they'll know that over at turn 12. As a result of that, we are about to get things back underway very soon indeed. Back underway for qualifying. Q2 for the Macau gear race. Kumho FIA TCR World Tour events of Macau. Marshals, the track workers, working very, very quickly, very effectively as well to get things back underway. The amount of people that are involved in this event at Macau, who give their time and do so very, very efficiently at Macau to allow this festival of motorsport to take place. 1 minute until we get cars back out on the circuit. Right, now you said at the start of 15 minutes, what are the chances with the 12 best, quickest cars? Well, we're about to ask the question over 10.5 minutes now.
But only 11 of them.
But only 11 of them.
Weeding one out. Marco Butti is the one that has ruled himself out of Q2 now. And if you want to concentrate further, it's the top 6 for points that we'll be looking forward to towards the very end. Right, the green flag is about 15 seconds away. The road is drier than it has been all weekend. We're in the best possible situation with the track surface now. Yann Lachey's car is ready to rock and roll, and so too is the green flag that is now shown, and we are back in business then for the second part of Q2, where they go once more down the pit lane then. And as they head onto the circuit, this is the last opportunity to gain some points out of the qualifying session, and indeed also to try and get yourself up to the front of the grid. And with the importance of a good grid position around here, you can understand why everybody is pushing so hard.
Right, work to be done now, and it's got to be done quickly as well. That's getting heat into the tyres on a dry circuit. Look at that. That's the first time we've really seen it on the run down towards the right-hander, the overtaking point of the circuit here at Macau. The right-hander at Lisboa, just in front of the Grand Lisboa Hotel, one of the very unique, distinctive illuminated hotels on the skyline here of Macau is the Grand Lisboa, up towards San Francisco Hill, and you can still see there are huge periods of very damp tarmac around the circuit, not online but certainly offline. So let's get these tyres up to temperature, shall we?
So 9 minutes and counting. Ignore this lap, it's the next one where we're going to start to get times, and they've gone out team by team, so in theory they can work together, offer a tow to the quicker driver through that speedy drive. That's the dust hanging in the air now as they just run over it. It'll have gone within a lap or so really. It'll get bedded in, but then the run towards far away.
So through those tricky right-handers, Police and Moorish, and then the run towards the left-hander at Donna Maria, and the Melco hairpin is where the circuit will begin to open out, and the run down towards the line of the start of a quick lap.
And Marco Butti's Honda has just been brought back to the paddock. We can see it out of our window, and the front right is very broken indeed. Well, I say the front right, there's not a lot of front right left, but it's clearly had an awful lot of damage done to it, that car, and has to be made good for tomorrow for the qualifying race, the first race of the weekend. We call it the qualifying race for the gear race purposes, but for Kumho FIA TCR World Tour event of Macau purposes, it's a full point scoring race, so it's got to be on the grid. To the end of an outlap come the Lincoln Co's and Yann Lachey over the timing line. Now we are in business, if you like. The pin is pulled, and now we're on to proper qualifying laps.
And we get a couple, if all things go according to plan. We've got 7 minutes and 20 seconds on the clock, counting down. It was only going to be a 15-minute period of time for Q2 for the touring cars. And now with 7 minutes, we are on a meaningful lap. What is going to happen over the course of the next 7 minutes or so? We will very soon find out. Threading through the right-hander at Lisboa, up towards San Francisco. The right-hander so close, those two corners together, and then onto the tight and twisty up and down section of the gear circuit.
So the Lincoln Co's taking on the Hyundais. They've got representatives, of course, across both teams fighting for Drivers' Championship honours, but there's also the manufacturer teams battle to factor in as well. On board now with Norbert Michelisz, the man that won the championship here last year, and he comes here again as the championship leader, and he'd like to stretch that if he can at the end of qualifying by taking the points for pole.
Who will take pole position? How will the grid line up at the end of qualifying? The answer should come within the next 6 minutes here in Macau. We've yet to have a time in this Q2. Interruption to the session with, unfortunately, the very damaged car of Booty making its way back to the car park, which is where the team will work on the car. And with Yann Elaché leading the way, a purple in Sector 2, personal best in Sector 3. It's going to be the benchmark time for Yann Elaché, the one for everybody else to aim for. How close they get to the barriers on the exit of Macau hairpin.
This is Michelisz's view then as he drops down the hill. All the cars with a 1 prefix to the number are those that are the regulars in the World Tour, with the exception of Dusan Borkovic, who runs without a single, without a triple-digit number, but all the rest are the regulars, and they come now down to Arben. So there, 111 Ted Bjork. Now, in terms of absolute best sectors, Elaché has got 1, Ashkiner has got 1, and Elaché has got 1, and here they come over the line. So Yann Elaché should be at the top, and he is 229.9. Then Ted Bjork does a 229.8, advantage Bjork. And it's really Norbert Michelisz that we're waiting to see, isn't it? Marshall Ha goes over the line, and Marcin Kła does enough to be third. And Ashkiner goes to the very top, 229.8. Michelisz is 4th.
4 minutes and 40 seconds of this session, and at least we now have a meaningful lap for all 11, or certainly 10 of them out on circuit, with the benchmark time for the target time for everybody else to aim at, 229.8 for Mikkel Ashkiner. Personal best in Sector 1 for Ashkiner and Bjork. 229.8 for Mikkel Ashkiner. 4 minutes just over remain. On Sector 2 they are now, pressing on the battle between Hyundai and Lincoln Co in this final qualifying session of the year for the Kumho FIA TCR World Tour event of Macau. And we're seeing it play out in front of us in sunshine here at Macau. Overall best in Sector 2 for Ashkiner, who has looked very pacey throughout wet and dry conditions here in Macau this year. And now Mikkel Ashkiner, top of the times, and overall best in Sector 2. Ted Bjork has dropped off a little bit, so not a personal best in Sector 2 or Sector 3, nor so for Ashkiner in Sector 3. So overall best for Mikkel in Sector 2, and with the quickest time so far, 229.839. Who is going better on this lap, this second lap out? Well, Norbert Michelisz has got personal best in Sectors 1 and 2. No one really improving in Sector 3 on this second lap. Threading their way through the Macau hairpin. Down they go towards the conclusion of the second flying lap here in Q2.
And bearing in mind now that we've lost Marco Butti, and only now has Andy Yan gone out, one driver from the remainder is going to lose the ability to benefit from that reverse grid, and whoever is 10th gets pole position for race 2. So we're looking at the fight for pole, but there's an unofficial battle for the race 2 pole, being 10th fastest.
Interesting thing here is that there are no improvements really for the top 4 in the 3rd and 4th sectors. Maybe a personal best for Ted Bjork. It's Ted Bjork has gone quickest with a 229.8. Ashkiner with a 2:29.839. Ted Bjork is top of the times and now puts in an overall best in Sector 1. Ashkana was previously overall best in Sector 2, but Ted Bjork's on it.
And 23 thousandths of a second between Bjork and Ashkana over a 6-kilometre long lap. That's pretty impressive, isn't it? Especially given that they're in two different brands of cars. So Ted Bjork the fastest, and as Alan rightly says, absolute best Sector 1. El Haché goes through Sector 2. Bjork goes through Sector 2 slower than does El Haché. And we await Ashkana, but it almost looks, doesn't it, as though that first push lap was the better one out of the tyres.
Yeah, for everybody concerned. Interesting that. They can maybe get a personal best in Sector 1 or Sector 2, but certainly 3 and 4 were not any improvements on that second time of asking. So one opportunity, maybe. We've only got 1 minute remaining, just over, on the clock. Ted Bjork is pressing on. It didn't pay off in Sector 2. It's not going to pay off in Sector 3 either. So that's overall purple Sector 1 for Ted Bjork. May well be the only improvement in sectors on this lap. Maybe. We've seen the result already.
And it's going to be the flag at the end of this lap for some, isn't it? Because with 40 seconds on the clock now, those towards the rear of the queue aren't going to get another chance. It was a qualifying session of potentially just one lap.
Just one lap, and yeah, it was the first of the quick laps that they put into Q2 as the Lincoln Co's with Jan El Haché and Ted Bjork running together. Yep, the manufacturers very much running together on this final section of qualifying. Jan El Haché just in front of Ted Bjork. Ted Bjork oh so close to Jan El Haché.
And are they going to get one more lap out of the session? They go through. Yes, they are, just before the checkered flag. So those two Lincoln Co's have one further opportunity if they don't trip over themselves. But everybody else will come and take the checkered flag.
And we heard it in pit lane, didn't we, before this session got underway, before Q1 got underway. At this stage, no instructions between Jan and Ted as far as what they have to do over the course of this weekend. This will make an interesting lap, won't it? Let's see what they do.
Right, Guerrieri is the first one to take the flag, and he is 6th, so 2 points for the championship for Esteban Guerrieri, provisionally.
So they've both backed off, I think. So Ted Bjork in Sector 1 has not improved. Jan El Haché backed right the way off. The two of them went across the line. So they did all that work to get another lap. There wasn't another lap in it. Celebrations already down in pit lane. There's some engineering brains down there in the pit lane, aren't there? Paul Ridgway, very, very happy indeed. And Ted Bjork, yep, very definitely has backed off. Very happy with that. It's been through Sector 2. And the best lap, 2:29.8 for Ted Bjork. Car number 111. Ted Bjork, top of the times at the end of Q2. Came here to Macau, lying 3rd in the standings.
And I reckon he's now 2nd, because 15 points for pole are going to put him on 270, 280 to Norbert Nikolic, but down to 3rd on 266. So off you would be Esteban Guerrieri. So that pole for Bjork brings him up to 2nd in the championship.
That was a very important pole position here on the streets of Macau, and a checkered flag being waved with a very broad smile as well by the race official, waving the checkered flag. I think they're smiling because the sunshine's come out.
Yes.
It's a good prospect. The poor people, the poor officials that have been in the little box on the start-finish line have been sheltering against the wind and the rain all day yesterday, but it seems to be a much happier box now.
Yes, I'm not sure whether they're waving the checkered flag so vigorously because the session is over or to get rid of all the water on it, but either way. Yeah. Right, 10th, Andy Jan. He was a late arrival on the scene, but he did one lap. He was the only person to improve on the last lap because it was his only lap. Why am I banging on about him? He's got pole for race 2. The reverse grid race, with 10th being the number to reverse. Andy Jan will be on pole for the 2nd race of the weekend, but it remains Norbert Nikolic in the lead of the championship, but by 10 points now from Ted Bjork, provisionally.
So the celebrations are down in pit lane. I'm sure they will be very soon in Parc Fermé as well. I think we get the opportunity to hear from the top drivers when they get back to Parc Fermé and then head up towards the press conference area here at Macau. Well, we might do. Maybe we'll get to hear from them. We've got plenty more business on track as well, because not only have we got touring cars here this weekend with championships to be decided, but also we've got the important business of qualifying for the FIA GT World Cup and Macau GT Cup, and for the FIA FR World Cup Macau Grand Prix as well. All of that coming up. Meanwhile, Ted Bjork at the wheel looks very cool, very calm and very calculated, doesn't he? Gets big thumbs up as he arrives down in the pit lane. And the team ready to welcome not only Ted but also Jan. Both of the cars arrive at the same time down in pit lane. When we got there, it wasn't without a few challenges over the course of that qualifying session for the Macau gear race, and also a fair bit of work to be done by a few of the teams as well.
Yeah, indeed so. And some drivers, of course, losing lap times, triggering those red flags, and a really interesting grid it is going to be, with provisionally Lincoln Co and Hyundai represented on the front row, Lincoln Co and Hyundai on the second, and then the third row is then going to be provisionally the Hyundai of Néstor Girolami and Honda of Esteban Guerrieri. But Ted Bjork, who looked quick all the way through, didn't he, really? And no matter what everybody else did, Ted always seemed to have an answer. And the world champion takes off his crash helmet. Marcin Khoa there comes to congratulate him with his new haircut. And very happy drivers indeed. Santiago Urrutia goes to congratulate Ted Bjork, who is really, really pleased with that, and you can understand why, because that is going to really bring him into the title fight going into tomorrow, and no doubt we'll be able to hear from a very happy Ted Bjork in a few moments' time.
Thank you. Ted Bjork, congratulations. You took pole in a very eventful race, but that was an important pole for your championship.
Yeah, it was so important, and the feelings going into it is absolutely crazy, because I was P21, you know, in the last minutes of Q1. Some bad decisions around the way, and then we just nailed it. But I'm so happy. Thank you for the team. It's great. You know, having the pole here is something I always wished for, so I'm so happy.
Best of luck for the race. Thank you.
So great effort down by Ted Bjork, and he's happy for pole, and he's happy he's in the title mix as well. So smiles all round for the Scion Racing team driver, the Lincoln Co driver. So with cars for the GT aspect of the day due on track any moment. Quick run through the times. Ted Bjork fastest from Mikuláš Kona, Jan Eliše third, Norbert Mikuliš fourth, Néstor Girolami fifth, Esteban Guerrieri sixth, Dusan Borkovic was seventh, and Marcin Khoa taking eighth in the times. So the FIA Kumho TCR World Tour event of Macau qualifying at an end. This is how it looks a little bit further back. Marco Butti will be 12th, Rob Huff 15th, Max Hart 16th. It's going to be certainly an interesting pair of races, that is for sure. And the touring cars will take to the track tomorrow for their first race at 12:35, and then on Sunday the second race for the gear race will be at 10:55. So still lots more touring car action to come from the gear circuit this weekend. Right at the very back, not getting a lap time in at all, Santiago Urrutia, and boy does he have an uphill struggle to get any decent result out of the weekend from here on in. But well done, Ted Bjork. Pole position for the final race weekend of the season in the Kumho FIA TCR World Tour.